Hello everyone. Today we are going to demo how to use Cloud Data Fusion. Essentially, we are going to build and create a data pipeline graph with Data Fusion. We will be using Wrangler and data pipeline features in Cloud Data Fusion to clean, to transform, and to process taxi trip data for further analysis. We would first connect Cloud Data Fusion to a couple of data sources. We will apply basic transformation. We will join two data sources and we will write data to a sink. With that, let's get started. First off, we'll start with the initial setup to make sure our environment configurations are done properly. So let me go ahead and click on Activate Cloud Shell. Continue. Let us check our account ID. We have an active account. Okay, now let us go ahead and verify the project ID. We have active project ID. Good. Now let us start with creating a Cloud Data Fusion instance. For that, we'll have to go to Navigation, API and Services, and enable API and Services button, and then we'll have to look for Fusion API, and then select Cloud Fusion API. So let me go ahead and go to API Services. So we have API Services here. Let's go ahead and look for Fusion API. We find Fusion API. Let me go ahead and look at Cloud Fusion API. We have Firestone API, Fusion API. So we'll click on Enable API and Services, and then we'll look for Fusion API. API and Services. Click on Enable APIs because we're looking for additional APIs. Fusion. Whoa. Okay, let's give it one more try. API. Enable APIs and Services. Fusion API. So we have Cloud Fusion API. We'll enable Cloud Fusion API. So we have enabled our Cloud Data Fusion API. Let's go to our navigation and pull up Cloud Data Fusion platform. Let's go ahead and click on Data Fusion. Create an instance. Now we'll keep everything else as default. We'll go ahead and we'll create. So our Data Fusion is getting started. So these are all the instance details. You have your instance ID, URL. It's been because this instance has been created. So let's give it a few more minutes. You have service account information here. Now let's get this information, service account information, and save this because we will be using this information. Let's go to IIM admin. While this is coming up, let's go to IIM admin because we'll have to set up all the access privileges. Okay. So here we'll have to add service account information that we had created. We'll have to select a role for that. We'll select it as data fusion. Cloud Data Fusion Service Agent. So we'll have Cloud Data Fusion API Service Agent. Cloud Data Fusion API Service Agent. Okay. Click on Save. Okay, so we added Cloud API, Cloud Data Fusion API Service Agent here. Now let us go back and look if our Data Fusion API has been created successfully or not. So let's look at Data Fusion. Let us go to Data Fusion. We'll have different instances here, so we'll have to pull up that information to make sure our instance is up and running. So our instance is still being created. So let's give it a few more minutes. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and try to see if we can load the data. Let us open our terminal. Let us see what is our bucket information here. So we don't have that bucket information right now. Let us see what do we have for Google Cloud project. Okay, we have that information here. So let's try to set that thing. Okay, so now if you go and look at your bucket, so you have your bucket ID defined properly. Good. Now let us move this bucket ID. We are creating a folder on Google file system, Google Cloud file system. Okay, so it got created. Now let us copy sample CSV file to that folder. Okay. Once this information is completed, they are also starting. Now let us try to create a temporary storage file for our Cloud Data Fusion. So if you come here, you are creating the temp folder. Okay, so we have temp folder created. View instance. So when you try to click on view instance, your instance is still being created. Okay. Let's give it a few more minutes. Our instance is still getting created. So now you can see we have our instance up and running. Now we can go ahead and click on view instance. There's some error here. Let me see what is happening here. So let's go ahead and click on view instance. Let's give it a few minutes while we have this instance coming up. So if you see here, we have our Cloud Data Fusion dashboard. We have different capabilities here. We have wrangling module, we have integrate module, we have discover and govern module. We have monitor and manage module. So let's go ahead and click on Wrangler. Essentially, Wrangler is an interactive visual tool that lets you see the effect of transformation on a small subset of your data before dispatching large parallel processing jobs on the entire data set. On the Cloud Data Fusion, when you click on Wrangler, you'll have a pre-configured connection that you can go ahead and tweak. But overall, it gives you a snapshot of transformation and result from the transformation on a smaller subset of data. So let's try to click on Wrangler. So here you see you can upload your data, you can have your connection with your database, with your Kafka, with your S3, or bunch of different modules here, and then you can run your transformations. Let us go back to our cloud storage and look for storage default, cloud storage default. So we'll go to storage. Let me go back to my Wrangler module. Now under cloud storage default, we have bucket corresponding to our project ID. We have this NYC taxi 2018 sample CSV file. So let's click on that. So now we are loading this file into our Wrangler module. Now we are going to focus on cleaning the data. In the Wrangler module, once you load the data, you can have a visual representation of your data, and you can clearly identify what kind of issues you have for the data. Let's click on parse and let's click on parse CSV. Now apply. So you see here, these are like the CSV file has body, pickup, date time, drop off, date time, passenger count, trip, distance, payment type, all this additional information that we have as an header information within your CSV file. Now we don't need body column field, so we'll just go ahead and we'll click on delete column. We'll get rid of that complete column itself. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we don't have body column in our view. Now, if you see here, everything here is of a stream column type, but there are a few fields where we don't want stream as our column type. So we can click on down arrow and then we can change the data type. So let's do it for trip distance, because we know trip distance is not, it's not a string. So we'll go ahead and we'll change that to float. Similarly, total amount would not be a string. So we'll go ahead and we'll change that data type to float. Now, if we look at the data more closely, there are a lot of anomalies. One example would be a negative trip distance. So we are going to filter these things out from within the Wrangler interface. So let us click next. So for trip distance, let me go back, look at the trip distance. Let us click filter column and custom condition and input. So trip distance, custom condition, custom. input greater than 0. Trip distance greater than 0.0. Now let us apply. So now if you see here, all your trips are positive. Trip distance is all positive here. Now let us go ahead and create a pipeline. So we go to our Cloud Fusion here. We click on create pipeline. So now we are creating a pipeline. We'll say, let us go ahead and select batch pipeline. So now we set different kind of properties for your Wrangler. We can have different kind of property settings here, and then we can essentially we can have different type of transformations. We can have what are the input field, what are the derivatives, directives. Are there any user defined transformation that you want to do? Do you want to like how do you handle failures? So those are the kind of things that you would have here. The Wrangler would have all your transformation. So now let's try to add a data source. So let's try to go ahead and add BigQuery. So we have BigQuery UI. Let us click on our resources section, and we can click on create a data set. So now we are creating a data set. Our data would be, data set ID would be trips. We click on data set, create data set. So we have trip information here. Now we'll have to go ahead and we'll have to change the query settings, right? So we'll go to more, query settings. For table name, we'll have zone ID mapping. So we will have zone ID mapping. Query engine, we are using BigQuery. Query engine, we are using BigQuery. Say write if empty, interactive, standard legacy. Go ahead and we'll say save. So we created one more table in here. Okay. Okay. Now let us pull this information. So we have here, query is going to run 8.2 KB, return 8.2 KB. So let's go ahead and run. So you see here it has zone ID, zone name, and it has borrow information. Now let us add a source in our pipeline to access this BigQuery table. Let me go back to my Cloud Fusion. So I'll pull BigQuery. I'll click on properties. I'll enter for reference name, I'll enter zone mapping. Table dataset would be trips. Table would be zone ID mapping. Partition start date. So let me pull partition start date information. So I have partition start date and I'll say temp. I'll go ahead and now I'll say get schema. So right now it is trying to pull all the get schema information. Output schema, okay. So now I go ahead and I'll click on cancel. So I have this two information. Now, so I have, if you look here, I have BigQuery, I have Wrangler. Now I have to join this to do some kind of transformation. I'll have to find a joiner in here. So where's my joiner? In analytics, I have joiner, okay. So I have BigQuery. My BigQuery will come here. And my joiner will come here. I'll go ahead and I'll click on the properties of joiner. Okay. Join type outer, join condition, pickup location, and zone ID. Location and zone ID. Zone ID. Location ID. Pickup date, drop off date, pickup date, drop off date, passenger count. So you have passenger count, you have trip distance, payment type, fare amount, tip amount, total amount, drop off location, ready pickup, zone name, borrow. How do I add aliases? Pickup zone name. Pickup zone and pickup borrow. Oh, cancel. Okay. So now we have to store the output back to BigQuery. So let us go to sync. BigQuery. BigQuery 2 reference name will have new one. Auto detect shirt trips pickup name trips pickup name temp. Now we are going to deploy this pipeline, deploy and run the pipeline. So we'll go to Data Fusion. Okay, now we'll click on deploy. So here we created the pipeline, we did all the configuration. Now we are going ahead and we are deploying the pipeline. So give it a few more minutes, it would deploy. And once it is deployed, we can click on preview and then click on run to see. Uh, okay, so this is our pipeline. No runs. Okay, now we can go ahead and click on run. This would take a few minutes. You see here the status is provisioning. Here you can see the status is provisioning. You have no errors here. So that's a good part. Give it a few minutes because it would take some time. It is trying to provision everything and then it will try to run. It will try to create queries and then there will be a lot of joining happening behind the scene and then it would go ahead and it would deploy the systems. This will take a few minutes. So let us wait till this job runs. So if you see here, the job is in a running status mode. You can look at all the logs here, live logs to see what is happening, what kind of operation is happening behind the scene. So you see here they are creating a big data query from default credential. They are setting up connectivity with the big data instance. Importing table information into big data, into BigQuery. So we have created BigQuery table. They have established the connectivity, and now they are pulling this trips pickup name table to BigQuery instance. Let me see what is the status of the job. So the job has succeeded. It took 5 minutes and 28 seconds. There were 5 warnings, 0 error, and it gives you, if you look at the property records in, so these are the kind number of records they processed per second. It gives you some metrics about standard deviation and average processing time, details about the run ID. So this is the run ID here. Similarly, you can see there are 0 errors for GCS file, Wrangler, BigQuery, and Joiner itself. Now let's go ahead and preview this data. So we'll go back to our query editor, BigQuery editor. So let me go back to my BigQuery editor. Let me try to pull this information from trip pickup name. Let me see what is the error here. So you see the query was successful. Let me try to run this query. Give me 1 second. Let me try to see why do I don't have a table here. Temporary bucket, okay. Let me try to do this thing. Okay. Table already exists, zone ID mapping, okay. Let me try to open my editor. Okay, so this one doesn't have here. Let me try to look at my, where did it pull this information from? Trips pickup date, so okay. Okay. job. Let me go to my pipelines studio. So this my pipeline is succeeded. Let me click on this my pipeline. Something has failed. Okay. This look good. It has so many. We did query. Something is missing. Let me see what log. Let's take a quick look at the log. Hmm. Okay, so let me go PWD. Hmm. So the pipeline got succeeded. You have all the data there. And here, I think there's some issue with the table loading here, but essentially the idea here was to showcase how can we create how can we leverage cloud data fusion to create our pipeline. So these are different schema elements. Let me go back to the dashboard. This is my pipeline. The pipeline got succeeded. So you see here, the pipeline is succeeded. The pipeline was successful. Now let me go here, look at the studio. Let's look at the list of all the pipelines. This is my pipeline. Okay, so yeah, I mean, essentially what we did for this this demo, we connected our cloud data fusion to a couple of data sources. We did some basic transformation on that. We leveraged Wrangler, and we tried to clean up a bunch of different data set. Finally, we joined two data and we wrote it to a sink, and then we were able to review it back from the sink. With that, let me know if you have any other questions. If not, we can conclude our meeting today. Thank you.